And it's 26 games now in which Holland has scored a goal in a football match. The last time they failed to score was against Romania in a Euro qualifier way back in 2007. So on that register, Australia going well. Nil also score. Paul Trimboli, Ange Postecoglou and Mark Bosnich join me for the half-time wrap. Trimmers, more questions than answers at half-time for Pim Verbeek.
Absolutely, and let's talk about the Dutch first. They've been brilliant. So good to watch. The way they move the ball, Harps, their touch on the ball in slippery conditions, absolutely superb. And Australia having a real hard time transitioning the ball from the defence into the forward area.
It's been hard going forward for Australia, but not so for Holland. Despite the difficulties of the conditions, Hans have had plenty of chances to score in that first half.
Only in football, it's the only sport you can still be level terms after a performance like that, because they've totally dominated all areas. To me, it's their passing, the way they pass the ball. They pass it with such a firmness, they trust each other's technique. And I'll tell you, Huntelaar on another night, or Schneider more sharper, we'd be 2 or 3 goals down.
He hasn't had a great season of goal scoring, indeed regular football, Huntelaar, and perhaps there have been signs of that. But we shouldn't forget that Holland, Bozza, have been 8 games in World Cup qualifying. They've won them all. The first European team to qualify versus Africa 2010. We're seeing good evidence of that with these chances they're creating.
You're seeing one of the top teams in world football play their trade here. It's been a real honour. 2 things. Not everybody's turned up in terms of crowd-wise, and also Australia hasn't turned up. If it was a boxing game, we would have got stopped after half an hour, and that's being nice about it. But if we're nothing, we're but resilient, and it is 0-0. And Ange brought that great point. One of the great things about football is you can still be 0-0 even though you've been dominated like that.
Haven't really looked likely to have the green and gold. They haven't been great going forward, but defensively, Craig Moore has been reunited with Lucas Neal. Paul, what's your assessment of Lucas back to work for the first time in the new season?
Yeah, he's looked a little bit like he's lacking match conditioning, and that's obviously because he hasn't played. And the Dutch are so sharp in and around that penalty area. It's their movement off the ball and their willingness to reward that run. And all of a sudden, we saw Craig Moore and Lucas Neal time and time again in that desperate position of having to get their bodies in the line of opportunities that the Dutch were creating. They had so much possession in the front third, and it was a real tough opening, especially the first 20 minutes.
Well, on that basis, this is a great hit out for Lucas. So it gets him no time to get rid of the cobwebs. He's had to get straight back into action. He's read the game well. Ange would probably be my assessment. What about his distribution?
Oh, look, I think that's with the rust in the spit. I think defensively he hasn't been too bad, although I'd still like us to push up a little bit further, put them under pressure. For that to happen, it needs Lucas Neal and Craig Moore to start squeezing up. The one shining light for us in that back four has been Luke Wilkshire, and a couple of times he's saved our bacon, particularly from those central areas he's covered across.
Now, doesn't his star continue to rise, Mark? Luke Wilkshire has been phenomenal the last 3 years for the Socceroos. He's been our best tonight. I share that view. It's been quite a battle between he and Alia down our right-hand side, and you'd have to say that Luke Wilkshire has got more than one up on his opponent.
The problem's not really been down our right, it's been down our left, where Kite, and we thought that was Heitinga was going to play right back, but it wasn't. It was Belarus. They've been running right down our left.
But
Wilkshire down
the way forward, isn't it?
Wilkshire down the right has done outstandingly well. And Holman up front, in front of him, has not done so badly as well. But I mean, there's a great point right towards the end. Simon Hill and Robbie were talking about that we lacked a little bit of energy. That's why, because we've been chasing the ball for 45 minutes.
Well, I tell you, Alia will realise at half-time it's a nice bath for him, won't it?
But what Wilkshire's done a wonderful job of is keeping Elliott facing away from the goal. He hasn't allowed him to get a touch and turn on him where he can be so dangerous. Wonderful performance from Luke Wilkshire.
And that's the point of Luke Wilkshire. That's why he has done well. Watch him every time he closes down his opponent very quickly. We haven't done that anywhere else on the park.
No.
We've given him way too much room.
You can say that about Luke Wilkshire, but Bozza, very quickly, if he concedes that many fouls in a competitive match, he would have had a yellow card by now.
I don't know. I don't think so. I think the referee's been refereeing exactly like it's a competitive match. One point, we need to get the ball, and one of our best ball winners has been taken off, Vinny Grella, and I think we're not the same team without him.
Yeah, that's a very good point, and it's hard lines for Vinny Grella, who's had a terrible run with injury recently. We're off for each team. Shots on goal, that's enough to send shivers down the spine of any football fan of the Socceroos. 21 shots for the Netherlands, just 4 for Australia. 4 on target for the visitors, just the sole shot on target by Australia. And it was certainly a very dominant performance by Holland. It was great to watch them live and in person, and Australia fought hard to keep a clean sheet. 0-0 finish here at the football stadium. Paul Trimboli, Ange Postecoglou and Mark Bosnich watched that second half unfold. Gents, what did you think of it? To you, Trimmers, first. We thought going into half-time, more questions than answers, perhaps, for Verbeek. As it unrolled in the second half, what did we learn?
Well, I think we learned that we can really put some effort into our defending. We kept another clean sheet. I'm not sure exactly how we managed it. There was 90 minutes for the captain, which was good. Wilkshire continues to impress. But a bit of a worry, our inability to hang on to the football and make any sort of meaningful inroads to the Dutch was a bit of a disturbing pattern.
Yeah, well, the thing is, Ange, let's just deal with the situation that it was a friendly match and nothing riding on it. So, you know, Holland could have had a few more players. We could have played with a bit more sting. Let's sort of put that in the basket now and look at the game for what it was. We found it very, very difficult to play tonight.
Look, I know we play Oman on Wednesday night, but oh man, did we get away with it tonight, because I thought we were totally outclassed in certain parts of the park, particularly in the middle of the park. They totally dominated possession. The way they moved the ball, we really couldn't get close to them. Can't remember us really marking or getting close to, particularly we were talking about it during the course of the game. Schneider, the amount of room we gave him. On another night, when you look at those statistics, the amount of shots and balls in the box, a good Dutch team on their good night, we could have had a heavy defeat. Now, plenty of positives. Yes, we did battle hard and we defended very well, but I still think there's some worrying signs there.
Harry Kewell said we need to get back to reality. This was a bit of a reality check for the Australian team. Mark, do you see that through the same eyes as Harry Kewell?
Harry was spot on. He came out and said it. He's a little bit more... he was a little bit more realistic than Lucas. Lucas actually played very well, I thought, considering the fact he hadn't played for so long. But his interview post-match, basically, he was kidding himself. He thinks that Harry's was spot on. He said that basically we didn't play well, and we didn't. And it was a reality check, and we do need to have more of these games to see that. And the only, for me, the few positives. Number one, Harry playing up front. I think we have found our front men. Now that Mark Viduka is definitely, obviously, going to be ruled out, he needs to play up front, right? You need to have your best players in the spinal position, and for me, it's him up front. Once again, obviously a clean sheet. I don't know how, but fair play, clean sheet. And the fact that basically tonight it could have been 6. Well, should have been over by half time, and hopefully we can take a lot away from that and learn from that. But if Lucas really thinks that was a good performance, and I said he's kidding himself, maybe he's thinking about himself and he didn't want to say that. His performance was excellent, considering he hadn't played for so long. But that performance overall, I told you, if it was a boxing game, after 30 minutes, that's it, all over.
Yeah.
Stop by the referee.
All right, scoring. The number of chances they created through the entire match. We talked about it at half-time. We'll talk about it again now. Did they create enough to score goals? We'd probably have to say yes. Did they have a cutting edge? Well, demonstrably no. Is this an issue for Holland? Did we defend better than you guys are suggesting?
Well, games are dominated and controlled invariably from the middle of the park, but they are decided in both boxes. Hence why your strikers and goalkeepers are so important, because you can dominate, like we were saying during the second half. Wouldn't it be funny if Australia went up the other end and scored? Because that would have been snatching a victory from the jaws of defeat.
And you look at some of these chances, and I think they look slightly rusty, particularly Huntelaar. But let's, for a moment, put Van Persie in that position that Huntelaar was in for quite a few times, and Robin out on the left. That's the kind of team we're going to face at a World Cup. And I thought tonight, at times, the Dutch, the build-up play was superb, as Trimmer said. Their link-up play was good. Babel was enormous when he came on, but they just lacked that cutting edge in front of goal. I guess that's an issue for them. Great defending by Luke Wilkshire, but...
And the thing that bothered me, Harps, was the fact that we were working so hard to defend, but still we didn't really limit their opportunities. They probably didn't get that final ball the way they wanted it, but it was more we weren't able to put any pressure on them going the other way.
Yeah, sure. All right, we're looking forward to Holland. No doubt about that. Australia, we did send out the search party to try and find a couple of chances that the Australians conjured, and we did come up with a couple, so you know, it's not all doom and gloom here. The foundation point for Australia was not conceding a goal. It has been, let's face it, the hallmark of Australia's qualification campaign till now. Very meagre sights at goal, however, tonight.
Absolutely, and I suppose one way you can look at it, if you're looking at a World Cup group, then you say, well, if you can get a point, pinch a point off a side like Holland, then all of a sudden you set yourself up for the rest of the tournament.
That's a great point, Trim. So that was the first game in a World Cup.
You will not pinch a point. You will not pinch a point playing like that. I'm sorry.
No,
I
you
think
won't. No.
In a World Cup game with those kind of opportunities.
Agreed.
And look, he could have pinched 3 points tonight.
We said that.
Brent Holman, best chance for the Aussies.
That was the highway robbery right there on the cards,
and again,
wasn't it?
I mean, that wasn't really a build-up play. It was a long ball. It was a flick on by Harry. Again, lacked a bit of composure here to hit the target. Holman. We could have pinched 3 points tonight, but I don't think that's the point.
All right, well, the question now has to be asked. We played Holland a year ago, beat them 2-1, okay? We played against 10 men in the second half. Nevertheless, we played well.